Good afternoon. I'm Cynthia Arcapudi, your moderator for today. Welcome and thank you for joining us for today's panel discussion, The Balancing Act, Acads and Extras. For our panelists for today, we have 2021 graduates in our dance school's post-arangetram students talk about their experiences with handling both Acads and Extras hand in hand at the same time. We are doing this so the younger students can stay motivated and get some advice on handling and juggling between both. Our agenda for today starts with an introduction of the panelists and will end with a Q&A session. A few house rules. Please stay muted at all times, keep your video on at all times, and please feel free to ask any questions in the chat box. Our first panelist is Nikhita Vaddineni. Nikhita Vaddineni will be a freshman at University of Washington in Seattle. She will be studying biology on the pre-med track. She's been dancing since the age of 5 and completed her arangetram in the year 2019. Our next panelist is Ananya Sekharan. Ananya Sekharan, class of 2021 of Saratoga High School, is an incoming freshman at Indiana University. She will be majoring in management at Kelley School of Business. Ananya has been dancing since the age of 5 and completed her arangetram in 2018. Nikhita and Ananya, you can start now.
Hi everyone, my name is Niki, as like many of you guys know me as, and I know many of you guys are much younger and not really ready in the college process, but I promise you, like, you'll be here and in a blink of an eye, you'll be where I am, and your high school K through 12 journey will be done, and you'll be wondering, where did everything go? Because that's the point where I am right now. My biggest advice for all of you, and you'll see this, is that as I continue to talk, and what's kept me most motivated in dance is that it's become my passion. I know many of our parents push us to try new activities. Like I did swimming, tennis, bunch of other random activities as a kid, and my mother put me on all of these different things, but I never truly found a passion in them, so I never could grow in that thing. But dance was one thing that, obviously I had my mother push me in it in the beginning, but over time I learned to value it as one of my most encouraging activities that I've done, and it's really helped me grow as a person, and hopefully it'll help all of you guys grow as a person too. But the most important thing in order to grow in anything is to have a passion for it. So that's my biggest advice to you. Enjoy what you do. Ananya?
Yeah, I want to add on to that. So for me in middle school, I tried everything. I did basketball, fencing, soccer, you name it. And I feel like in college perspective, they don't want to see you doing many stuff. They want to see you do certain stuff and that you have a passion and you put the years to it. So in middle school, I did 20 different activities, and Cheering Auntie knows it because I would come to dance class and oh, I have to go to this and this, but I was able to balance both dance and this because I actually love dance, right? And so in high school, though, when it came to high school, I only focused on 3 things, which is dance, golf, and my Girl Scouts. So in middle school, I think you should try a lot of different activities and then find what you love to do. And then in high school, you should only focus on those stuff because colleges really look at what you have the passion for something. As Nikhita says, you should have the passion for something, and you have to be able to write about it. That's what colleges really look for. So for me personally, a lot of my essays and for when I was applying to college was about dance because I've been doing that for majority of my life, and dance really made who I am today. So yeah. Okay, Nikki.
So I can go into a little bit about how I put together dance and some of my extracurriculars and my academics and how I showed that to my colleges. So one of the biggest things when you do your college application process is that everyone's going to tell you, don't tell, show. So you want the college admissions officer to not just read, oh, I did dance, I learned the mudras, I did an annual show every year, the end. They want you to they want to feel what you went through. They want to feel the sweat and the pain and the tears that you went to become the amazing dancer that you are. So when I wrote my college application, my personal statement essay, which is a 650 word essay, um, which I send to almost all of my schools except for like the UC campuses. Um, I wrote about how I'm okay. So a little recap in case you missed it. I'm a bio major, so I'm trying to go in the medical track. So I tried to put how dance and my bio are related to each other, and so I wanted to tell that like I've learned so much through dance. I've learned myself as like a person, but I've also learned like what my body needs, how I need to stay healthy, and all of these things, which is how I related the two. So during my junior year, I like during my sophomore year and junior year summer, I completed my Angetram. And I remember my mother just, force feeding me like chicken. She was like, no, you like chicken, eggs. She was like, you need to eat meat. You need to be able to dance for 3 hours. You need to be strong. And I was like, okay. So I would blindly like listen to her because, all our life we hear that meat has a lot of protein. It helps us get more energy. And so soon after I finished my Arangetram, I like started like I was doing AP Bio in one of my school courses, and I learned that a lot of like Olympic athletes go on like a vegan only diet, and they switch to plant-based because of how much extra energy you would get. So I started to do more research around like athletics, like dance, and like the bio aspect, and I found that going the goal is to go vegan, but right now going vegetarian is the best thing I could do to, increase my stamina, become a better dancer, and constantly like be working out. So I wrote about my journey through that for my college applications, where I was able to take, my extracurriculars and my academics and how I put them together to grow as a person. So that's personally what I wrote about. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat too. Ananya?
Yeah, so I obviously also wrote a personal statement, and I also talked about dance. So sorry, one second. My prompt that I chose for my personal statement was discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. So obviously, like the biggest achievement in my life is my Arangetram. So I started thinking like that. So like before I start talking about my essay, so any like juniors or like freshmen, I don't know. So I would start writing your personal statement the summer you're going into senior year. And because the personal statement is like the biggest essay that you have to write. So for me, I put all my time into it. I probably did like 30 revisions into it. And I'm going to read some of my essay to you right now. So the gist of my essay is like about my Arangetram, and as Nikki said, personal statement, you have to write your essay not telling them, you have to show them. So your personal statement has to be as creative as possible. So I'm just going to read a little bit right now. So, okay. This is how I started it. It was 2 more hours until I had to go on stage, but there was still much to do. Black eyeliner, red lipstick, heavy jewelry. The first costume of 3 I would be wearing that night was green and pink color with gold embroidery. As the hour drew near, I grew more anxious, but kept myself occupied by playing my dance music in my dressing room and running steps in my head. I was finally ready physically, but mentally I was a wreck. Then the orchestra started tuning their instruments, the audience slowly taking their seats, many having traveled as far as India, and my teacher practicing the opening speech. The whole year, I've been preparing this 3-hour solo debut of 9 dances, each 10 to 13 minutes long. And suddenly I was on. Lights flooded the stage, and these 3 hours were going to be my moment to shine. I have dreamt of this moment since watching my older sister in the same spot 5 years ago, but I never anticipated how long and difficult the whole journey was going to be. My whole life, I identified myself as a dancer, despite the fact it never came easy to me. So I really want to resonate with that sentence because for me, I have very small hands and very small feet and not the best stamina. And I can't do simple mudras like my Alapadma, like my pinky curves inside. But like luckily Shirni auntie like really taught me not to focus on the cons of myself and focus on what I'm really good at. And with my when I was a kid, like I would go to dance because my mom would force me to. But when I really started my art engagement process, I really fell in love with dance because the amount of hours I put into it, the amount of dedication I put into it, it really made me grow into a person. And as I hope Sharina can agree, like my whole art engagement process, like I really like grew as a dancer. Like I also got my facial expressions good, and I was able to do a lot of stuff. So it really like it really changed me, and I will continue my essay now. So I'll start from where I left off. My whole life, I identified myself as a dancer, despite the fact it never came easy to me. I started learning this art form when I was 5 and have loved it ever since. Yeah, I've always felt very different from other dancers. Hand gestures are an essential part of Bharatanatyam, an Indian classical dance. However, my small hands and curved pinky prevent me from doing basic hand gestures. I really struggled, especially during my preparations for my Arangetram. For example, since my pinkies were curved, I could never correctly form Alapadma, the frequent used flowered hand gesture. But my unique hands were a quirk, and I was proud of, and my teacher never put undue pressure on me. And that's basically, I talked about how my struggles really made me into the dancer who I am today. So that's what my personal statement essay was. Okay, Nikki, you can go.
Okay, Cynthia, do you have any questions for us that you'd like to go over?
A question that I have is, what's your perspective on gender equality? Did you have to face any difficulties in voicing your opinion? How have you empowered yourselves in the process?
I can go first for this one. So personally, I have never actually faced anything that made me feel less than due to my gender. Uh, I hope that's the truth, like that's what everyone else is going to face in their high school career and onwards in the rest of their life. We are lucky enough that we live in the Bay Area where honestly this isn't such a case, is what I've seen in my school. I do know that kids that we do have a like computer science club where obviously the majority, well, not obviously, unfortunately, the majority of the club is male. It's like a male dominated field. So every female that's kind of going to computer science, that is something that you're going to face. You're going to find that the field is dominated by males, and you're going to in some ways stick out like a sore thumb, but you should be proud of it and take it as a challenge and do like the best you can and prove like everyone else wrong who tries to belittle you. And that's the best advice that I can give. Just show your strength in any way possible, and the confidence that you gain from dance is only going to help you in that process.
I also personally never dealt with anything like that, but whatever Nikita just said, I totally agree with it. So I don't really have much to add on. Cynthia, do you want to read the questions in the chat?
Sure. So Pranavi asks, was it hard balancing your engagement process and your schoolwork?
Okay, so I'll go. For me, I did my art engagement freshman year of high school. So like, high school was new to me, but I was able to balance it pretty well. So like I would mostly focus dance on the weekend and then I'll do my homework throughout the week, but I would still have dance rehearsals. I think honestly, like we did like the whole year preparation, but like I think physically and mentally, like you really start preparing over the summer. So for me, it was not that hard balancing. But at the same time, like, you have to also focus on your academics. So like I kind of put more focus on that during the school year, but then I gave my whole body and my soul to dance in the summer. So that's how. And I think Nikita was a little harder because she was in her sophomore year. So that was probably harder.
Yeah, so I completely agree with Ananya where during the school year I'd put most of my attention towards my academics, and during that entire summer because I did my engagement in August, so I had like June, July, August to really focus on dance and like give everything to dance. So that was my main focus over the summer. During my sophomore year, because it was my sophomore to junior year, I was studying for the ACT at the same time because you guys are going to take standardized testing or maybe not. And I remember like I took a class that was like maybe 2-3 streets away from like the dance studio. So I would go to the ACT class, and then I would come to straight to dance class, and then I would go home. So in most of my summer ended up being like I would be in the Cooper. I live in South San Jose in Almaden, and most of my summer was spent in the Cupertino area because like from morning, like my class was in the morning, and I would just be from like 8 to 5 in that area. So it is like really hard because it's gonna end up being you can only do your Arangetram and maybe like one other thing for me, which was ACT camp, and that's it. Like you don't really have time. You'll be like tired because you're mentally drained and physically drained, but it's a really rewarding process. Like I will say that I after my Arangetram, like it was a very emotional moment for me when I finished, and it's all worth it. Like that one moment made everything all the blisters on my feet worth it. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like when I was doing my Arangitram, my friend Alekia, she was on the side stage. She's like, and then after you do your Arangitram, like you would want to do it again. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Why do I want to dance again for 3 hours? And then like I remember in my ending pose, I'm like, yeah, I would totally do this again. But then it left me after 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, I'm done with this. But it's like such an amazing feeling. Like everyone came just for you, just to see you accomplish this. So yeah, I'm really grateful that I was able to do my Arangetram. Thank you, Shirani Auntie. So yeah, I think there was one more question in the chat. Oh, someone privately messaged me, sorry. So
Okay.
Sindhu asked, what subject are you majoring in? So I'm more in the business area, so I'm doing management. So that's my major right now. I might minor in marketing, not really sure yet, but my dad tried really hard for me to do computer science, but it never really stuck with me. As like Nikki was saying, like my dad's like, we need more women in this field. Let's like come. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. But I know there's some people in this room that are interested in that. So
Another question I have is, we are driven by competition and constant validation. So what were your experiences with respect to successes and failures? How did you handle them?
I can go first. So I don't really remember my early on competitions. I kind of remember my recent ones. So I remember we were as a group, we were doing we were doing OSAT, and like we prepared for weeks for this one dance of Pahimam. And we actually like we were so proud of ourselves. We're like, oh, we're for sure gonna win something, but we sadly didn't. And I just remember feeling disappointed, but like honestly just made us more driven, and like we're like, okay, we can do it next time. Like we'll just like fix the piece up. And then for my solo competitions, I don't know, like I always like feel so nervous performing by myself. But like I I remember this one competition, like it was I remember like I was so nervous because I like didn't practice that much. And like I remember giving my heart and soul, and I'm like, oh my God, I did so bad. Like I remember like, oh, I did so bad. And then I went in the audience and I'm like, oh my God, you were so good. Like your facial expressions were great. And I was like, really? And I was like, thanks. And then like the next day were the prizes, and I ended up winning first place from both sections. And I was like, wow, I think I'm actually cool. Like I'm actually good. So there's always bad and good in competition, but I honestly think it just given me more drive to like achieve something. So, and honestly, like I honestly didn't care that we won because I had so much fun like choreographing and like doing the formations. I'm like, okay, I didn't really care about winning. I just remember like having like this bonding moment with my team. And like I remember for Pahimam, like Shirni Auntie gave us like the creative freedom to do like any formation that we wanted. So like it was really fun, like figuring out like, oh, what will look cool in this and this. So it was really fun. And yeah, like as I was saying earlier, like like dance really made me who I am today because it taught me such great qualities like perseverance. Like for my Arangetram, I was like the last week of my Arangetram was so stressful for me, and like I just remember like I have to do this. Like everyone came out, and like it's like a goal that I've had since I was a kid, and it taught me determination to like stick through, and it taught me creativity and like focus and everything. So dance, like, oh, besides that, being an ABCD, like, we don't have much cultural like stuff that we would do if we had in India. So like Bharatanatyam really helped me connect with like my culture and my religion. So I think dance just, yeah, it's awesome.
So my take is a little bit different. I completely agree with Ananya on however, like the competition process is extremely rewarding in the sense that when you do it as a team, when you do it like with everyone together, it's so much fun. Like the practices, like in the like before you come to class, you're like, oh my God, we have class on Tuesday from 5 to 8, and I have to drive all the way. And then you get there and you totally forget the time, and it's like so much fun just because everyone's enjoying what they're doing and trying to make us the best possible way. As for competition, this is a little personal for me. Really I really enjoy when people come up to me and just like talk to me after. So more than like getting a trophy or more than anything like that, I love it more when someone comes up and is like, "Hey, Nikki, or Nikki, you did like a great job," or like, "Hey, your expression was good," or your I don't know. They'll give me some compliment, and that to me is worth way more than any trophy can give me. Just because I remember those, and I feel like that's way more personal. Um, so I also that's like so when I talk about like competition, that's the one thing I see. Like when I go to competitions, when someone remembers me after on stage, when we're like when we're like doing like the whole like who's gonna win and everything, that's the most like that's my favorite part when someone comes and remembers my dance. Um, and I don't even need to win for that. It just makes me really great to feel like that. Um, and again, like going back to what Ananya said, like working with your peers, it's so much more. So I always like, I think many of us agree that it's so much more fun to do things with your friends. Um, it's it makes it more engaging. You have fun. Like I for the first time ever, like I felt like at this like recent practice, I was dancing with the group that did I was dancing with the Saturday 10 a.m. batch or the group or the 9 a.m. group. And I remember feeling like, wow, like this is the first time I've ever felt like 4 years older than you guys because you guys are talking about your own little thing about like foosball and Shrithan. And I was like, wow, I'm not even included in this conversation. I feel so old. Um, and but other than that, like that's the first time because I know we haven't seen each other in a year, but I hope like, every other time, like when we've danced for like, this entire time, you guys see me as a friend just because I find it much like if I know about your life and I know about Ananya's life, it's so much more engaging to work on choreo for me to tell her. Like it's easy if I'm like, ooh, I don't like this step. Like it's very easy to tell someone. And like that community is really like it's a really like fruitful community and you gain a lot from it. So the competition season, the amount of work you put in, everything is worth it, even if you don't win, because that's not the goal that you're trying to get. Yeah.
We have a couple more questions in the chat, but I'm going to start with this question that Smitha asked. Was it difficult deciding which subject you wanted to do?
Okay, for me, I'm still not 100% sure what I'm doing right now is what I want to do in life. So I really didn't know what I want to do for like the longest time. Like I knew I didn't want to do anything like math related or computer related. Like I really wanted to do something that like involved people, but at the same time, kind of wanted to work like at a tech company. So like I was really like conflicted. And like my dad and I would like really talk about it and like, see what I really wanted to do. And luckily for me, I had a college counselor and she made me like take all these personalized tests for me. And like she like after like I took like 20 tests, like she like found like 3 subjects. She's like communication, business, and um education are my 3 things, and I chose business. And like I think in my high school also like they make us take tests like during the class. And luckily, like, America, you get to like change your major. And I don't know, I for me, management, every time I tell someone I'm doing management, they're like, oh, that's the perfect major for you. Because like I'm a very people person. So like honestly, to help you decide what subject you want to do, you have to like really like internalize and see like, what I like, make a pro and con list, and like really talk to your parents because like they know you better than anyone else, more than yourself. So like if like I like ask my parents like what do you think will be good for me? And then they'll like I think like honestly parent support is like the biggest thing. So that's how personally I decided my major. So
For me, as Ananya also mentioned before, like we had, one of the biggest arguments is going to computer science. My dad is like a huge like fan of coding and everything, and I don't know, I can never imagine myself working a 9 to 5 job like in my own cubicle. Um, so I always knew like I had two uncles, both of them are doctors in India. And so every time we go to India, I see them and I just realized like that is something like I want to do as I think I see that through dance. Like, I care more about like talking to people and them remembering my dance than, caring about like the trophy. And I think that's something similar with like medicine. That's something I want to do. I want someone to, remember me and just I really want to make a difference. Like I really want to help people, and I really want to. I don't. I think that's like a field that works really well for me. Like similar to Ananya, I'm like a more people person. So um, just like I know for sure I want to go on the medical track, and I've had so many like people that I look up to that go that way. So the best major to do the MCAT is bio. So I did take that, and I love like the entire subject of bio. It's constantly evolving and constantly new. So it's honestly a great field, and I'm excited for college and to study that.
also you should like look into the subjects that you're interested in. Like I knew I didn't want to do anything science or math related because like I wasn't the greatest at school, like, and like I didn't have like the love and interest I had for it. So always like look at like what you take and do a lot of classes outside of school. Like I did like I feel like in junior year summer, I did like an internship with a marketing team, and like I actually really enjoyed it. Like, trying to think of like slogans for their new website. So like you just try like different stuff. Like I like did coding camps in like the sophomore year, and I just like knew like, yeah, not for me. So just like keep trying different things, and like don't be like scared that you decide till junior year, because I only knew like senior year first semester. So yeah.
Kind of similar. I wanted to add one more thing. When you guys are looking at college, like you're gonna get into a lot of colleges, obviously, and you're gonna have to decide which college is best for you. Remember, like what you're trying to go into really matters. Because I got into a lot of other like really prestigious schools. I got into Georgia Tech, which is really well known for like engineering, but it's not so well known for bio, so I didn't choose that option. I got into Boston University. Other reasons, not for it's great for bio, but sorry, I was accidentally muted. And so remember that you're looking for when you look for schools, look for a school that will give you what your major can give you best, what can give you the most opportunities for what you're trying to do.
So I kind of want to like before we go to the next questions, like I kind of like have this train of thought, so I'm just gonna finish it. So like the way I like applied for college, so like I would recommend over the summer, right? If you're I feel like everyone in California is gonna apply to UCs. So work on your personal statement and then work on your 4 UC essays over the summer, because once school starts, you're not gonna have enough time to like write essays, and like personal statement and your UC essays are the most important thing. And luckily, like your UC essays, so so when you go to colleges, like some of them will have supplement essays. Like they'll ask you like write 2 more essays for them. And a lot of colleges that I applied to had that. So my counselor recommended me to write all my UC essays and my personal statement over the summer, because the UC essay prompts are very similar to a lot of supplement essays you will receive. So you can just like copy and paste, and, like change it like depending on the prompt. So I would recommend that. And what else can I say? That's how I like kind of started it. Nikki, like do you want to say how you like started your whole writing process?
Yeah, so I told myself like before school starts, I want my personal statement to be done and my UC essays to be done. So I kept that. Like I worked all from I started in or started in June. Let's just say June, July, August. I really worked on those. I knew what I was. Obviously, I still did some like my last final edits up until like small edits up until November, just quick changes. But I was done with most of my topics and my writing by August, and it was the best decision I've ever made. I was not as stressed as some people. I know people started some college apps the day before it was due. Very glad I didn't do that. I'm so glad that I paced myself out. So timing is really, really big. And know that it's a lot of work. It's not something that you can do in a day. It's not. So, time management is a skill that you will learn throughout, like as you mature, and dance will really help with that. So yeah.
So I know a majority of you guys are middle schoolers. So as Nikki was saying, time management is like really key, and procrastination. Like, do not procrastinate in high school, you guys, because my sixth grade science teacher, I remember him telling like, whatever qualities you guys are doing like right now, it's gonna be stuck forever and you're not gonna change. And I totally agree with that. So like, if you're already procrastinating and like suck at time management and you're in middle school, please fix it now, because then it's gonna be so hard to fix in your later life, and it'll be so beneficial because like in college, like you're gonna be by yourself. You're not gonna have your parents telling you like, oh Ananya, you have a class now, go go go, like, oh, do your homework now. Like, no, you're gonna be by yourself. Like, my mom made me get a planner, so she's like, you gotta start now so you'll be ready for college. So you have to be prepared. And coming back to college now, so I know a lot of my friends. So when you start applying, you should really research into colleges. Like, like when you know what major you want to do, like what field, try to find what the best colleges are and if it fits your criteria like of GPA and like your SAT score. So the way I did it, I had reach, goal, safety, and then I had my UCs. So like safety means like, oh, for sure I'll get in. So I had like 3 colleges under that one. My reach, my goal was like, it's like a goal, but it's also like approachable. Like I can totally get in, but like sometimes I won't. And then my goal is like the really hard schools. So you should make a list, because I know a lot of my friends who like only applied to the hard schools and they didn't get into much of them. So you have to make a list and like categorize like which school goes to which. And also when I was applying to colleges, a lot of like my admissions were already coming in, and like I like got into Arizona University for global management. And then my Boulder due date was next week, and I'm like, I'm not gonna apply to Boulder because I already got into Arizona and I'd rather go there. So like it's always improvised, like you never know what's gonna happen.
You mean
And
Arizona State, right? Arizona State.
oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, Mom. Thanks. Arizona State. Now I lost where I was gonna say. Yeah. Oh, and also when applying to colleges, apply like your max should be 15. Like, don't overwhelm yourself. Like I had like 15. I only ended up applying to like 12 or like 11. So you never know.
So question from Ramanti is, which year would be more better for doing a Ranga Pravesam? Is it in 10th grade or 11th grade?
I would say don't push it to your 11th and 12th grade summer. I thought when I did it was really perfect, just because I thought I'd matured as a dancer by 10th, in the middle of 10th and 11th grade summer. Obviously, I still was studying for my ACT. It wasn't like I wasn't doing anything. There was still a lot of school to be done. But I think that was like kind of my best age, where I thought I matured as a dancer very well. And also I was young enough that it's not my 11th grade summer when I'm supposed to be doing 500 internships at the same time and a bunch of different projects at the same time. So I think when I did it was very perfect. But Ananya might think, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like 10th grade, but also like your Shirnyanti should also like give approval if you're ready or not. But like honestly, like if like you want to do it, like you will make time for yourself if you have to do it in junior year. So it's just like I feel like with now like the whole COVID situation, I feel like SATs and ACTs are like way chiller than they used to be. So I think like it won't be as hard as like previous year people had. So
A question from Neil Monty is, what was the formatting of your essay and how did you do it? Is there a way to incorporate dance with this essay?
can you clarify by like what do you mean by format? Like if she's here.
Format in a way like how did you just introduce yourself? Like the hardest thing for writing an essay for me is about myself particularly is introducing myself, putting myself out there in a opening.
I think
And
she missed your essay, Ananya. You want to give first
Oh,
3 lines one more
yeah,
time?
I'll
You
do it
introduce
again.
yourself.
So I'm going to be reading my personal statement, and your personal statement has to be the creative one. So like I would like do flashbacks, like be like really like over the top, and then like your UC essays have to be like boring, like chill, and like straight to the point. So like I'll read my first 3 sentences again. So this is about my arangetram, and I was like talking about like I like started writing about like before. So like I was like, it was 2 more hours until I had to go on stage, but there was still much to do. Black eyeliner, red lipstick, heavy jewelry. The first costume of 3 I would be wearing that night was green and pink with the gold embroidery. As the hour drew near, I grew more anxious, but kept myself occupied by playing my dance music in my dressing room and running the steps in my head. I was finally ready physically, but mentally I was a wreck. It's like I was like showing my emotions and how I was feeling at that moment. So the way I decided, like, you were asking, I think your question was like, how did you like decide to write dance, for example? So I basically wrote on like a paper, I wrote like a list of things that I know that I can talk about. Like, I knew I can talk about Girl Scouts because I did so much in it. I knew I can talk about, I'm in a special program in my high school called MAP. So I knew I can talk about MAP. So like I knew I can talk about these certain things. And I remember sitting down and looking at each prompt. And then like I found this prompt. I'm like, oh, I can totally talk about dance in this. So, and then what were you also asking? And the way to incorporate dance for me, when I think of like my dance journey was the struggles that I had in the journey. So I really like talked about that and like the end goal that I had and how I achieved it. So like everyone's dance journey is like a little different. And also you have to be pretty unique in your college essays, right? Because like I bet there's like 1,000 of other Indians also writing about their Bharatanatyam thing, right? So I didn't really read this in my essay, but like I also had like this health issue when I was a kid. So I talked about like I flashed back to when I was born and like how I had this problem and how it affects like me right now and like how I like struggled with it in dance, but how I overcame it. So like like talk about your struggles and like colleges like look a lot like where you had a growth within yourself. So like you have to like more write about that. And like you're probably like in 6th grade, so like I feel like you have way more time to figure it out. Like this only happened to me in high school, so yeah.
Another question. This question's from Siri. How important is it to have a counselor privately other than your school counselor? If you recommend to go for a private counselor, which grade should we start talking with the counselor?
Okay. Oh, Nikki, you can go.
Okay. So my school counselor, it all depends on your school counselor. What do the students before you tell you? Some of them are really good. They will read your essays. They will do everything and help you out. Unfortunately, with COVID, it was really hard to create a actual relationship with my counselor. If they actually knew my name, then it's like a surprise to me. They only know me as a person on a paper and my school ID. So they really didn't know me. I had a private counselor who knew me, who helped me brainstorm ideas. I'm not an English writing person. I do tend to do much better in math and STEM subjects like that. So having a person who read over my essays, helped me with all of that, was extremely important, and it gave me more confidence in what I was submitting. I would say it's good to have a counselor privately. They are very expensive, and they might not even do the entire the counselor I had didn't do all of my. I didn't apply to only 15. I applied to over 30 schools. I did a lot, so my counselor didn't really help me with all of my schools. So but like helping me with the general idea of it, it was really helpful. And he's really expensive. So if I also used an app called Wisant, which connects you with random college students and other tutors around the area. And if you look for a person with good reviews, just helps with college apps, you can just put like tutor, what you're looking for, college apps, and they will help you. They honestly will help you brainstorm. They will help you grade your essays, and they don't charge as much as like a regular counselor. That will help you come up with your school list. That'll do everything else. So I kind of come. It's up to you. What does your school offer? What's the price range you're going for? And do you like want a one-time thing, or do you want like you sit down, create like a strong relationship with them? I tried both, and I recommend both. So if you would like, any specific contacts, let me know and I can pair you up with anyone.
So for me, so my older sister, she didn't have one because it honestly depends on the type of person you are. So my sister's like way more independent, like she was on top of her game. Like my parents didn't really need to check on with her, like, like, oh, are you good? Like my sister like did everything by herself. While like me, like I kind of like need step-by-step help. And like, so like I remember like junior year, I would like go, my parents and I like visited like 3 different types of like college counselor, and like 2 of them like they were really discouraging, and so like we found one that we really liked, and she like the first 2 meetings, like she really got to know me, like my personality, and then she helped me figure out like like, oh, you should write this for this essay, I think it will sound way better, and she like edit my essays. So like if you want someone like that, you should get a private college. And my mom like talks about like how like if you get like a college person in freshman year, they would like tell you what to do from then, like what like certain internships or like certain like classes you should take to like maybe like benefit you in like applying to college. So like if you want someone to like help you like decide like, like find the certain internships like that will get into college, then you should get it. And like Nikki's right, like they're really expensive, and like high school counselors, like they really mostly focus in like you in high school itself rather than college, and they only check on you like in once. It's like, oh, where are you applying to? And like I'll just tell them and that's it. So I would recommend it, but at the same time, it really depends on who you are. So
Another question we have is, how do you keep up with grades while handling many other after-school activities?
So I can, kind of start off there. Your number one focus should be your grades, because unless you have grades, they will not really like continue to look at you until your extracurriculars. So number one thing, focus on that. Okay. After that, it comes, then they'll say, okay, you are academically qualified to come to our school, right? You have to have some basic learning. Then they will look at how well-rounded of a person you are. Honestly, my biggest advice to everyone, pick 2 things out of your entire like list of things that you do, and those should be your 2 biggest things, or maybe even one thing, and really excel in that. Do the most you can, put in the most number of hours you can, because some schools, they really want that. They really want to see you shine in one thing. They want to see you show most of your growth. So for me, that was dance. I showed most of my growth through dance. I did it for the longest time. That was my one activity that I really did. And then all of everything else that I did, it's all smaller things that I put in time and I put in effort, but obviously not 13 years of effort into, maybe 1 or 2 years up until like, college apps. I still do a few things, but not as big as dance. And all of those other things will show, other skills that you've culminated. But I would say your biggest focus, academics. After that, have your one activity that really shows your growth and where you shine, and everything else that shows that you can manage a bunch of things at the same time, show that you're well-rounded, and you've gained other skills and stories that you can write about in your college apps.
all I want to say is time management is key. And like I really regret it, but like I know in middle school like they give up planners, but like you should really write down, like having that satisfaction of like checking off something. Like I feel like writing down, looking at like in the morning, like, okay, what do I have to do today, and like plan out everything. And like I think it's just time management. And that goes with procrastination, like writing down everything, like like telling yourself like, you have to do this before you can do this, and like don't let like your desires take over you. So you got to like really like be strict with yourself sometimes.
I can also quickly talk about procrastination because I did see that question in the chat really quickly. So I really struggled with procrastination. Again, I agree with Ananya said, like what the way you set up your life in middle school is really going to affect you in high school because you're going to be the same way. So the way it worked out for me was in middle school, obviously the lectures are going to be a little bit easier. Everything is a little bit easier. And then come to high school, it's a step harder, and then college is a step harder. So I was able to slide by middle school really without having to study and stuff, or kind of last minute study, last minute finish off everything. I really can see that like affected me in high school because like my sisters make fun of me. Like if I was like sleep over with them, and at 11:15 I'll start my assignment that's due at 11:59 because in some way I know I can get away with it, but it's not like the right way to do things. I can't put in my 100% doing it like that. So I throughout high school, I knew this was a problem I had. So I literally tried a lot of things. So we worked on a 6-week schedule. So we would have 3 6 weeks every semester. Well, for our 2 semesters in a year. And every 6 weeks, I would try something else. And I went up until like my second semester of 11th grade, just trying different things. I would write in a planner. I would use the Pomodoro clock, which is like an hour in and then 15 minutes off or something. Like it was like a way to schedule your time. I tried, I have like a whole list. Like I tried like those Google Chrome extensions. I did everything that I could to like motivate myself. I did the whole thing where you read 15 pages, you eat a chocolate. I really worked hard on that. And nothing seemed to work. And one thing that worked for me, however, is accountability. So I remember reading this like article, which was sometimes people post on Facebook like their diet goals or their workout goals, and they'll say, I'm going to like work out or I'm going to try a diet. And when you search this up on Google, you're going to find so much about like, why does this show narcissism or something like that. But I found this one article that was saying that they do it because it's a sense of accountability. Let's say they go for a walk and someone's going to ask them, hey, I saw your Facebook post. How's your diet going? How's your workout going? And so indirectly, they're having a bunch of other people hold them accountable for their goals, which is super helpful. So I would work on FaceTime with my friends. So they'll be there and we'll just put each other on mute and we'll work. And it is insanely helpful to have someone holding you accountable, making sure that they're not going to be like watching you, making sure you're reading the book, but you feel obligated to be doing that because they're doing the same thing. And it is extremely helpful. If you're still young, you don't have a phone, you're still working, you're worried about procrastination, honestly, having a parent, like first semester, we were back in we were back at home doing all our classes. I didn't have my desk in my room, and I would sit next to my mom. My mom would do her work, and I would sit right next to her. And it's so helpful to just have someone not watch you, but like they're indirectly holding you accountable. And it's the best thing that I've done because it's really helped me with my procrastination.
Smita was asking a little bit about recommendation letters. So, yeah.
Okay, so recommendation letters, you should start asking them in the end of junior year. And like for me, my teachers reached out to us saying like, hey, if you guys want us to write your recommendation letters, just email us. So teachers, so I kind of chose my 2 favorite teachers, more of like they know me the best, like they know me besides my grades. Cause like my I'm in like I took AP environmental science this year, and like I have a couple of juniors in my class, and like my teacher was telling me like, I know like with COVID, like it was really hard for me guys to know you, but if you email me and like I don't even know you, I'm not going to write your essay because I can't write anything about you. So like you have to choose a teacher that knows you for who you are. And that's why in high school you should stay after class, like go to tutorial, like have conversations with them so they really get to know you. Because like the teachers I chose was my physics teacher / business teacher, and I chose my history teacher. And like I would go to my history teacher like every day during tutorial because like my friends and I would just hang out in her room because like it's really nice, and like she would come and talk with us, like she knew me, who I am. And then my other teacher, like I had 2 classes with him, so like he knew me pretty well, and like we would talk after class and stuff. So like I would recommend choosing teachers that know you rather than your grade, and because like they'll write, because in high school you're going to get 3 recommendation letters, one from your counselor and 2 from school. So like your
Sorry, she just glitched out right there. So
I can continue until she comes back. I chose my math teacher just because, going into like bio, they would prefer you to have one STEM teacher and then one other regular teacher. And you'll see that you'll find that a lot. If you're going into STEM, they're going to ask for that. So I asked one of my pre-calc teacher, whom I was gonna like be a teacher's assistant for. With that, if COVID wasn't there, I would have done that. It was a teacher that I did form a very close bond to, and when I say close bond, obviously it means different things for a lot of different people. But it's just like you become close enough that you can talk to them, you can ask them for advice, you can ask them for a lot of things. I asked him for how, like, I asked him to write my letter of recommendations for summer programs and summer internships. And he did all of that. And it's just a person you can always ask for help. And my other teacher that I asked was my English teacher, whom I had a lot of friends in that class. So I eventually became very close to her just because we would all talk to her about book recommendations and stuff. So just teacher.
okay, so we have, okay, one more question. So just a question from Ramanti about how good colleges consider the volunteering hours.
Yeah, they're going to look into that totally. Like, as Nikita said, like, they're not going to only look at your grades, they're going to look how like a whole like how much you've grown throughout the years and how much you've helped your community. Because personally for me, like a lot of my college supplement essays were like, what did you do that impacted your school? What did you do that helped your community? What can you do that can help? If we accept you, like, what can you bring to our school? So like they're going to ask you a lot of questions like that. And my counselor said I worked in high school. Like I worked as like a waitress at a restaurant, and like now I work at a country club. So they also look at a, like, you like do like minimum paid wage jobs. Like they look at like all that type of stuff, because like it looks like it shows that how whole of a person you are and how you're able to like balance school and other stuff. So I would totally I would totally recommend to volunteer and like show that you impacted and like supported your community a lot.
Yeah, very similar. I would agree. I honestly don't think colleges look at the number of hours you did. I know that my school only knew that I did like 40 hours, which was the minimum to graduate. But on top of that, I did like a bunch of others that I just never submitted. And so I never really like told colleges the number of hours specifically I did. But all the experiences that I've culminated through my experiences of volunteering, how I volunteered at the hospital, what I've learned from that, all of these things. And I wrote about them. And that's how colleges really like understood my volunteering experience from what I learned about it. I did a few other things, and so I just wrote about it. That's how they understand what I did.
Okay, we have one more question from Ramanti. What are the factors to consider choosing a good high school?
So, I mean, one of the biggest things that you're gonna find is actually, I have like a longer answer for this. So I agree again. I come with the idea that whatever things that you've learned in middle school, the activities that you've done, the how do you work well under pressure, all of these different things, and what's your what's your budget for high school again? All of these are factors that you have to take into into like your consideration when choosing like a good high school. I chose Leland High School because it was my public high school, and it was really well known to like have like a good community. So the biggest reason why I went to Leland was because, you know, I mean, I'm gonna say this in the nicest possible way. You know, first generation, a lot of immigrants, like childrens, are there. We all work really hard. I formed a really good community of people who know their goal, where they want to go, all for like, you know, public education, and the community I gained from like going to this high school was really encouraging to work with. So yeah.
We have one more question from Nilanti. How do you plan on managing a job and school?
Okay, so I never really managed a job and school at the same time. I did a job, you know, kind of after. I tutor kids. So it really wasn't like to me a big deal. I think Ananya had more to do with the I think Ananya did more of like job and school at the same time. I did a lot of, you know, activities, a lot of volunteering activities, and other classes and stuff like that, much more. So I think Ananya will tell you more about like job and.
I mean, I just wanted a job for the heck of it, and I really enjoyed it. And like also with the law, like I only worked like 3 hours a week. It wasn't a big deal, but it really taught me like from like the other perspective. Cause like, you know, I go to a restaurant, just eat and come, but I got to like see behind the scenes and like see like, wow, a lot of work goes into it. So I got to see everything. And yeah, I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, like I didn't work that much. So like get a job that like you don't have to work too many hours.
Okay, I think that wraps up all the Q&A session for today. Thank you, audience members and panelists, for coming today. We really appreciate your presence. As much as I would love to continue, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. But still, this was really fun. I hope our younger students were able to learn something during this discussion. Have a great rest of your day.